Welcome to the Bob and Tam Show today. Pating
Nation.
You might be wondering, why the heck do we say that pating thing? Well, you know, we did it as a joke and ended up being a lot of followers liked it, so we actually made what we call the Pating Nation now. It's those extra special people that love motorcycles, love our channel, and just want to make us a group. So from that, we're going to talk about today is Mexico. We just got done with the Rocky Point rally down in Mexico. What's the town actually called?
Puerto Penasco.
She thinks she's got it now.
I think I got it.
So that's what it's really called.
Rocky Point.
Yep. But they call it Rocky Point because that word stands for Rocky.
Penasco means, Penasco means Rocky. And then port is the port that's there. We were even a little skeptical about going down there.
So what we ended up thinking is, you know, we did a little research before we went. You know, first of all, you don't need, if you're riding a motorcycle across or bringing a car or whatever you're coming across in, you do not need to have a vaccination card or have a negative test within the last 3 days coming or going. So, you know, that's something you don't have to worry about either way. So that's one of the nice things about going across the border. Next thing is you don't want to bring any guns, any knives, anything like that. You can't bring any, the food that you can't bring across is food like perishables, you know, vegetables, plants, things that are fresh. You can't bring meats either. Any kind of meat can't come across the border either. If you got cans or bottles or, you know, you got a drink or something like that, there's not an issue with that. Now, in our case, when we came across the border, we pulled up to the border. There was actually a car with a trailer with a motorcycle on the back of it in front of us. They were being talked to, and I guess we're on the Mexican side now. So the Mexican official said, come on through, come on through. So we just drove on around and over we went. That was kind of the extent of going across. So the town we come across when you get into the border is called?
Sonoida.
Okay, so that's kind of a small town. There's gas stations there if you want to gas up after you get across. We gassed up before we came over there. So if you're going to Rocky Point, the best port to come across is?
Lukeville border crossing.
Okay, so you're coming across there, you can come in a couple of different ways. If you're coming from Arizona or California, you can come across the 10. And what's the road that you hit when you first come in to get down to that border crossing?
To get to that border crossing, you can either come across the 10 or the 8 and get on the 85 and then take that south, and that'll take you right to Lukeville border crossing.
And so when you're coming down the 85, one of the last places you can stop before you pretty much don't have anything to stop is a small town that's called Y. Why is it called Y?
Why not?
Why not? That's right. Because it is Y. What's well known for there is they got a truck out front with water pouring out of it, an old truck. They made a fountain. Yep, they made a fountain out of it. There's a restaurant there. What is it? Granny's?
Granny's Kitchen, I think.
Yeah. They have a little restaurant there, serves breakfast, lunch, and things like that. It says Mexican, but they got all kinds of food in there. And they have a little store that's got a variety of things that's on there. I think they also have insurance. You know, that's the other thing we need to make sure that you understand, that if you're going to go your vehicle across the border, your car or motorcycle insurance from the U.S. is not going to cover you down in Mexico. So that's really the first thing you need to do before you do anything else, is set up where you're going to get your insurance at. Now, we actually stayed in and the lady that we at the campground we were at, she recommended the gas station right next door.
Because it was her dad's?
Yeah. So for 5 days, it cost us, you know, figuring the bike was worth about $24,000. And there's a whole bunch of things. It's a 10% deductible. They also look at NADA. So you can't make up a price. And if you've got a lot of accessories on your bike, they depreciate those, and you have to have receipts for all those. And they give you a little card that tells you all the things you have to do if something happens while you're down in Mexico. So they have to have your vehicle identification card, so your ID for your license plates, you need to have that with you, and then you need to have this insurance. The whole time you're in Mexico, you need to have that. So you don't need
FMM.
Because you're only going to be if you're only going down into that Providence, which is the Sonora area, if you're only going to be staying in that area, you don't need to have that form filled out. And
as long as it's just for less than like 10 days or something.
That's probably the best way to get in, is going by the 8 and the 10 to get into there to the 85. So the 85 is going to take you all the way across, and you catch that.
Once you get into Mexico, to get to Rocky Point, you take the Mexican Highway 8.
Yes. So you got to watch, because when you're going through town, the very first town that you're in, it's going to go off to the right. And there really isn't a sign there that tells you keep to the right.
We just follow the cars.
Yeah. What we did is, because we weren't sure about driving on this road, and probably if you've never been down there, you might be thinking the same thing we were. Is this a safe road to be riding on? So pretty much going through town, there was a handful of kids that were going, they wanted you to rev your bike up and things like that. We didn't see a whole lot. There's a grocery store. There's a couple gas stations there. If you want to pick some stuff up and put it, take with you, because there isn't a whole lot of stuff between there going down into Mexico. From the border going all the way into Rocky Point is about 72 miles? 72, I think. There's a whole lot of nothing between there all the way. They got big signs up saying it's a USA free zone. I take it from there that nobody's going to bother you, because we had people in front of us, the 5 bikes in front of us ran anywhere between 80 and 90 miles an hour down, and the people coming back ran about 90 miles coming back. And we'll talk about coming back in a minute. But once you get into town, it's pretty easy to kind of navigate through the streets and stuff. The only thing that her cousin actually lives down there, doesn't live there, but she owns a house and has had it for 20 years. And she said the one thing that they get you for more than anything else in Rocky Point is not stopping at the stop signs. Some of these roads are really wide, and that sign's way over there on the side. And a lot of people, especially the bikers, run those stop signs. So be careful. There's a lot of streets that have a stop sign, but the traffic coming at you has no stop sign. So be careful when you're pulling in and out of areas. Make sure you don't get hit or anything like that.
And like you said, the roads are really wide. So you think it's a 1-lane road, and then all of a sudden I would have to tell him there's a car coming up on our right, there's a car coming up on our left, because I didn't know if he could see it, and all of a sudden there's a car right here alongside of us. So even though they're wide, there's not dividers in the middle of the road, so sometimes there might be a car on either side of you.
Yep. So you got to be cautious about that. Taxis are like anywhere else drives taxis. They're kind of nuts. So they're the ones that seem to come zipping around you if you're not running. And the speed limits are weird because they're all in metric. It's like 16 miles an hour, 27 miles an hour, because they use 20, 30, all the way up to 90. Well, my Harley doesn't have the conversion on there. So we had to do a little calculation. But typically we didn't see anybody not in Rocky Point, we didn't see anybody being pulled over for anything. We seen people, now these are the people that live there, drinking in their cars. They were stopped at stoplight.
They jump out and get in the back of their truck or trunk or whatever, grab a few beers, pass them around, get back in, and light changes green, they take off.
So I'm not saying it's legal to drink there, but apparently it looks like it is. Also, if you're going to the rally, there's a lot of places that there's things going on. One of the places that we didn't hit in our video, we didn't have time to go to, was Manny's. A lot of people said that's a place we should have hit. We just didn't have the time. The rally is pretty much a Friday, Saturday rally. It's not much going on Thursdays. We went down to the old port. And that's kind of where we hung out most of the time. If you go back and watch our videos on that, you can see. And it seems to be that anything pretty much can go down there. We didn't see any trouble by anybody. Everybody that we talked to was very friendly. Probably the only bad thing, she was an American. And the only bad thing that we seen being there, because we've been to Cancun before and we've been to Cabo down in Mexico, but I'd say 90% of the people down there only speak Spanish. So it's really hard, if you don't know any Spanish, to communicate with them. We had to get the phone out and get an app out a couple times, talk to some people. Most of them spoke enough broken English that they, if you're in a restaurant, they can figure out what you want. Point at it on the menu and they'll figure out what you want. So it wasn't that bad. Food was pretty good. It's different. We had some hamburgers at a place, and I'm not sure quite if it was hamburger meat or not. The fish was really good that we had. We had a steak. That was really good. I guess you had some Mexican food. Didn't you eat some Mexican food?
Yeah, I had a chimichanga. I asked if it was deep fried, and they said yes, and it was, and it was grilled, but it was still good. A lot of seafood. If you love seafood, they've got gigantic shrimp. I swear they're that big. They go out every night.
Blue shrimp or something.
Blue shrimp, yeah.
But they're gigantic, and they sell them everywhere. So I don't know if I'm assuming people take it across the border, because we've seen people with bags of ice with the shrimp in it. So I'm assuming they're taking it back across the border, which I don't know. So basically that's kind of what all happened. There was no trouble down there. We rode around everywhere and never had any trouble. There is a lot of roads that are sandy. They said it's a clay, but it doesn't look like a clay. If you've been to Sturgis and you've drove on the road that's on the side of the Buffalo Chip, It's very similar to the product of that. It's not red, it's more of a tannish color. More like sand color. And but it's the same texture type. If it gets wet, it's slick. So
kind of like a clay sort of.
Yeah, they said it was a clay, but it doesn't look like the clay I've ever seen before. But there's a lot of sand. They're doing lots of construction. Buildings are being built, being updated, things like that. So a lot of the roads are dirt and sand. Not really a problem. We didn't have any trouble driving on them. If you stay in town, most of those roads are all paved. But some of the roads have a lot of, I don't want to call them big potholes, but you got to watch where you're riding at. And they got some killer speed bumps. They have the normal American speed bumps, but they got the round ones too that stick up out of the ground. They're probably an inch or two tall, and you have to watch that.
They're rounded.
Yeah.
Because, on the bike, you kind of slide off them.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of an issue when you see those. But, I mean, you got to watch because they got these speed bumps in the middle of nowhere. You're just driving down the road and all of a sudden, boom, there's one. So you hit it. Now,
is that an animal?
You can also, there's a lot of...
Oh, like Airbnbs?
Yeah, there's a lot of those down there. If you're going down there with a big party, you probably get a heck of a better deal with that. And you got big garages to put your bikes in. And that's kind of what we did.
You have to watch because the one that we saw... There was probably, I don't know, what was it, 6 feet before you got to the garage that was just sand. Probably 3 or 4 inches of sand.
Why they didn't find a shovel and dig it out, I don't know. Because most of it's from this was on the Sea of Cortez. So they were the first block. We were in that block. We were on the Sea of Cortez. Their house was across the street. And that sand all blows. Well, probably whoever's been at that house hasn't been in the driveway. And they watered it down the last day to get out. But a lot of the driveways have big lips on them because they're trying to stop the water from going in their driveway or in their garage. So sometimes you gotta angle your bike to get in. But other than that, it was a pretty good experience. I would highly recommend changing all your money over to Pesos. Mexican money. Because they don't, I think we bought some medical stuff down there, some prescriptions, and I think we kind of got tooken on them. And we didn't realize till after we got home, I think she took the peso rate and charged us the dollar rate. I'm not sure, but that's what we suspect. But, so if you're paying in pesos, then you already know and it's not a deal. Your credit cards, which is what we used on most of the time when I paid, they do charge you a fee. It ranged anywhere depending on what we paid, anything from about $1 up to about $8, depending on how much you spent. Your credit card company charges you that for the transition, I guess. But I don't know. Some of it is because they're already doing the calculation. See, we've gone to Mexico before and they ran it through as pesos. Here, a lot of them are trying to change it over when they put it in the credit card machine. So you're not getting the benefit of the fund. They're changing it. And we've caught a couple of the waiters that when they write down, hey, it's $27 or it's 45 pesos, 49. Well, we went back and looked. I don't know if that's the right amount, but it was only $22 instead of 27. So
I don't know if you got a $5 tip or...
Yeah, plus we gave him the $5 tip. So you got a $10 tip on a $22 ticket. So that's one of the things I would highly recommend. And normally we always do that, and we didn't do it this time. I thought the credit card would be the better way to go, and it wasn't for us. So when you can get down there, you go to the Bank of Blanco or whatever they call it. It's like that's BLANECO. I think government owns it. And you go in there and you just put in, you want 1,000. So if you get 1,000 pesos, it's about $100 you're getting back, thereabouts, depending on the exchange rate. So if you want, $500, you ask for 5,000 pesos. And it kind of comes up, gives you a good idea of what you're getting. You can always go back. But of course, your credit card or your debit card is going to charge you a transition fee there too. But at least there, you're always going to be paying what everybody down there that lives there is paying that rate. So I think you're going to get a lot better deal. So that'd be my recommendation. Now coming back, other than that, everything else with Mexico, we had no problem with. Everything was great. We had great weather.
Excellent weather.
Yeah. Humidity wasn't too bad for this time of year. We went down in November here. That's if you come to the Rocky Point Rally. If you're looking at this as just going across the border, their big holidays, they say, is Memorial Day, spring break, and the bike rally. Those are the 3 big weekends that they have down in Rocky Point. So if you want to go down and see action going on and have a fun, crazy time with a bunch of other people, that's the weekends you want to go to. The beaches, they have an area that they call Sandy Beach. Now, we drove down there, but we didn't look. But like where her cousin lives off of the Sea of Cortez, it's kind of up, I don't know what end of town that is.
It's Los Conchos.
And the beach there had a lot of shells and rocks and stuff on it, and that's why they call it Rocky Beach. You know,
point.
yep. So they call it that because there's a lot of rocks in the sea.
Well, they're in town. There's like gigantic. They're like boulders. Those big black rocks.
Yeah. So that's all you got to worry about. So coming back, same thing happened. You know, we loaded the bike all up. We did buy some prescription stuff and brought back and had that in the bike. And when we pulled up, we thought we'd get there really, really early. We left at 7 in the morning. Right now, the border is open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. So if you get there anywhere near 8 o'clock, you're probably not going to get across the border. We talked to one guy that ended up sleeping with a bunch of guys on the side of the road, waiting for, they stayed up almost all night. And then they, I guess, got a couple hours of sleep, and then at 6, they got up and came back over. Because he thought it was open until midnight. And the people that we talked to in Mexico says probably they'll keep that time even after everything changes. So coming back, same thing happened. We started following some motorcycles, and they ended up pulling over for some reason. I don't know why, so we flew past them. A lot of cars passed us. I was doing about, the speed limit, actually, you're supposed to be doing about 65 miles an hour, I think is what 90 transfers to.
90 kilometers.
And so people were flying past us in cars. A couple motorcycles flew past us. So we got up to 80, 85, and we kind of stayed there. We finally got behind one car that kind of stayed between 80 and 85 all the way. So when you pull into that town, watch out. There is a speed trap.
Before you get to that town.
Yep. You'll start seeing some houses coming up, some buildings, and the police sat right there coming up to that hill. There was one squad car, pulled over a car that flew past us, probably doing over 100. And they got him. And as soon as that car caught somebody, another car was pulling up to get the next people. So, like in our case, being behind somebody is probably the best way to get into that town. Because they're not like American police, where a lot of times they'll get the last person. Well, this one will get the first person that they get with the radar or whatever they're checking with. I don't know what they're doing.
They probably just see them.
Yeah.
They're going
You're fast. Yeah. So I don't know what they have for technology down there. But, hey, they caught that guy. We went through town. Probably the only thing, going across the borders, you got to watch, there's a lot of people standing in the road. People want to clean, well, of course they're not doing it on motorcycles. They want to clean windshields. They want to sell you chiclets and everything else that's going on.
Candy was the big thing
Yeah.
this year. Everybody was little...
Tons and tons and tons, and people ask you, the same person asked us 10 times when we were downtown. So when you get to the border, there's going to be a pack of dogs there. Lots of dogs. They all look the same. There's probably, I bet you there was 20 or more of them there. They don't really come around the motorcycles. They're looking for people for free handouts is what they're looking for. And none of them came nowhere near us. We rode through, and I think they were kind of scared of the motorcycles. But the cars, they'd run right up to every car. They'd be right in the middle of the road, and you revved your bike a little bit, and they'd run off to the side. They didn't go very far. They just got to the side where they knew they weren't going to get ran over, I guess, and stood. So other than that, that was it. We pulled up to customs there, and they do have a drug sniffing dog that sniffs every vehicle that comes through.
Just runs around.
So make sure you don't pick anything up for anybody. Don't carry anything for anybody, because you wouldn't want that dog to detect you've got cocaine or anything illegal.
Any kind of illegal drug.
And it didn't pick up any prescription stuff or anything like that. It's picking up, I think cocaine's probably the main thing they're looking for. And the dog runs around your bike, and that's kind of it. I didn't even see the dog. I'm assuming he came at the back of the bike. Maybe he didn't even look at our bike. I don't know. But if you've seen the bike in front of us, he had walked him around, had him smell the fairing. It was a touring bike too. Went around the saddlebags, and then the dog just walked off with the guy. So ours, I'm assuming did that, but he never came around the front. So then she asked us if we had anything. We just said no. We didn't have anything to declare, and that was it. And then she said, "Oh, you are U.S. citizens, right?" And we're like, "Yep." And she says, "Okay, have a nice day," and we drove away. And that was kind of the extent of it. So overall, that's kind of what it was.
So coming across, it probably took maybe 5 minutes. Going back was probably about 15 or 20 minutes. And
other people we talked to, we actually went back to the Y after we got back to our camp where we were at. We switched over to the truck and went down to the Y to eat because that was the only place. With that, we're going to leave you right here.
So thanks for coming along today. Hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information out of it. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Share us with your family and friends. Think about Patreon. Give us a big thumbs up. Ring that bell for notifications. And we'll see you on the next video.
And look, we got our new stuff in. I ordered it. If you guys look down if you're on YouTube, you look down there in the bottom and it'll show some items from our store. You just click on that and it opens up the store. You can get all kinds of shirts, and this one's even got it on the back.
It's got pating. And then on the side of his hat, it's got pating.
So it's on the side. So if you want to get some of the Bob and Tam's merch, you could go there. There's even some pating stickers you can order too. So check that out, and we'll see you in our next video.
That was my line, but bye.